Hey guys, it's MJ from Endless RVing, the channel that brings you the best in RV DIYs, product reviews, RV tours, and so much more. Today we are going to give you tips on how to make driving a motorhome a breeze. Make sure to stay to the end because we're going to give you the biggest piece of advice when it comes to driving a motorhome.
Not used to this, no I'm not. It was like if we were to waste these moments, the like poets to me.
So the first thing is, guys, is called PMI, which is Preventative Maintenance Inspection. So what we're going to do is, number one, you want to make sure that every single bay door is locked. As you know, we screwed up. We had a bay door fly open during travel. So making sure every single one of your doors is locked is critical. Also, make sure your jacks are up. That would not be fun if you start pulling away and those jacks are still on the ground. So that's the next thing you want to check for. Also, checking that there is nothing in the perimeter of the coach, right? We park a car in front of our coach. Obviously, it needs to be moved. Now, we would see that. But there's nothing on the ground around or underneath the coach that you may have forgotten about that can hamper your moving forward. So the next thing is to make sure you're always disconnected. Campground, home, whatever. So we connect, we're always plugged in. If you're at a campground, before you pull away, make sure you disconnected your water, your sewer, and your electric. Okay, so the next thing is setting your mirrors. This is really critical to have your mirrors in the correct position. Now, some videos will tell you to do put a little piece of tape in certain areas. We're not going to get into all that, but you can check that out in other videos. So I'm going to show you just how to check and set your mirrors correctly. So the inside 1/4 of the top mirror should be showing the sidewall. The remaining 3/4 should be showing off the coach. In terms of the bottom, the 1/3 of the bottom should be on the ground, and then the top 2/3 should be up and back. All right, so the bottom mirror, which is called the convex mirror, is manually adjusted. You have to be careful if you're not sure of this, is that the convex mirror makes things look further back. So they are closer than they're going to appear in that convex mirror, so you want to be aware of that when you're driving. The convex mirror needs to be set so it can be seen along the side all the way to the back of the coach. And the last exterior thing is going to be your tires. All right, so do a walk around before you head inside the coach. Make sure your tires look good, all of them. Make sure nothing's looking flat, of course. Now, we have a TPMS, so we're able to monitor this as we're driving, but you want to check this before you start driving. Now to the interior PMI. So we took care of everything outside. Then you do some walkthroughs inside. Quick, but you want to make sure all the cabinets, every drawer is shut tight. You don't need doors flying open so things can start becoming ejected and flying towards the front of the coach. How do we know this? Because it's happened right here, right? Fridge and freezer have to be locked. We've had quite a few times, and I think we finally learned our lesson, right, hon? Mm-hmm. Where we forgot to lock this and our fridge emptied.
It's always MJ's fault.
It's always my fault. So luckily it was locked when you hit the mirror in the toll plaza. So anyway, that's got to stay locked. Everything shut tight, secured, and put away. If your coach is equipped with slide locks, make sure they are all in the locked position. Also, make sure that your door is secured, it's locked, and the deadbolt is locked as well. All right, also, you want to make sure everything's working, right? Make sure your lights, wipers, brakes are working. Get that emergency brake off, which should always be on when you're parked. And check your seat and wheel position. Whenever I sit and get ready to drive, I want to make sure the seat is close enough or far away enough from the wheel so I'm comfortable, and that the wheel position is at the right angle where my arms are not too high or too low. And the last thing that is important is to make sure you know your coach's height and weight, all right? You do not want to get stuck under bridges and tunnels. We have an RV-specific GPS. We have the Rand McNally, which is not going to lead us down a path of destruction, right? It's going to, if we put something in there that is not safe for travel in this coach, it's going to tell us, reroute, and it would never put us in a path that would take us into that.
Guys, just also keep in mind, these GPSs are simply machines, so they will never replace just common sense. So if the GPS for some reason takes you down a road it's not supposed to, and you see a low clearance like ahead, just don't keep going. Like, stop, right? So you got to use your head too, okay? So that's pretty important.
All right, guys, so now we're going to talk about some driving tips, all right? So one of the biggest things that I had to learn, I think anybody needs to learn when you first start driving one of these things, is to take your time. Don't be in a rush. There's no There's no destination that needs to be gotten to that's more important than your life. So just take your time. Another thing is don't be distracted, right? Like, and I know somebody's gonna put in the comments, why aren't you distracted talking on a video? Maybe, but I'm all good. So don't be on your phone. Don't be eating while you're driving. Don't be, looking. Just simple tips that you would use in your car as well. All right, so let's talk about tight turns. So tight turns can be a little scary at first, but again, you can't worry about what people think, and you have to take your time. So there's one of two ways that you can do it. So you can either, if you have a tight turn, say you're leaving a parking lot onto a street, you can either go into the opposite lane of the parking lot, so you can make that, you have the wideness there to get into the right lane when you pull into the street, or you can stay in your lane in the parking lot, for example, and then when you get into the street, then go wide into the opposite lane. But you're gonna have to go into the opposite lane of either the parking lot or the street in order to make that turn. Okay, so I'm gonna show you how, this is one approach I would take. So I'm not gonna take the wide in the street, I'm gonna take it here. So I'm gonna go into the incoming lane of traffic coming into the parking lot. Now, if there was traffic coming in, I would just sit here and wait. The people would behind me would just have to sit and wait. All right, so nobody's coming in. So I'm gonna go into that oncoming lane so I can get the wide turn.
So now we're in the opposite lane,
Right.
so she can clear this curb that's over on the right. You can see this curb
Right.
here. She has to clear that.
Now I'm still gonna have to cross the lane a little bit, but not as much as if I didn't just do that. Okay, so we're gonna head out. I'm looking both ways. Now, I know I'm going to have to go into that lane a little bit, so I'm gonna wait. Not as much as if I didn't cross over. Okay, again, watching that back wheel.
And still
Yep,
in the lane.
yep,
Good.
there, we're good. Okay, and again, if I had to sit and wait for traffic to pass, I would do that. All right, so we're gonna make a left turn up here. Of course, always put your blanket on. And again, you gotta make those turns wide. So when my back wheel hits the end of that turn only lane, then I start to cut. See how wide it is?
Like a boss.
And then we're good to go. All right, so a couple safety things when you're driving. You want to make sure you're always leaving, we like to leave at least 10 seconds in front of us, all right? So if you're looking at a sign on the highway, when a car passes that sign, count to 10. And then that's when we should arrive. I take it even slower than that if it's raining or foggy or something like that, just to ensure that if you have to stop quickly, you have plenty of wiggle room there. Also, I like to stay in the right lane, all right? If you're in the middle lane, again, you've got cars and trucks on both sides of you. Here comes a nice big tractor trailer, so you stick to the right lane. And I'm always, when I see a tractor trailer coming up on the left, believe me, I am staring in that left mirror. I want to be able to make sure that if they come into my lane, I have room to get over into the shoulder. When you're driving, obviously you're looking ahead, but frequently check your side mirrors and your side camera down here. I'm always looking in the mirrors because, again, I want to see, am I staying in my lane? I'm looking at the lane markers, right? I'm looking at the traffic coming up on the sides. So it's almost, I'm rotating front, mirrors, camera, and it's constant, which again, why you have to be focused and not distracted. So you always want to let cars and trucks pass you. You always want to have an escape route. So for example, there's a truck coming up on my left. If he's right next to me, I'm going to slow down. I want him ahead of me so we're not riding side to side. So God forbid something happens, I can get out of the way either on the shoulder or behind him. Always assume people don't see you, all right? You got to be a defensive driver out there.
So yeah, guys, a little tip when I drive is that I'm always going to give myself enough room and always assume that people will do something silly, because a lot of times they do, and always assume if something goes wrong, do you have a plan, right? So like these cars in front of us, if that car for whatever reason in bad weather spun out, do we have enough room to get out of the way? If you're on something that's carrying, like a truck that's carrying something, if debris came out and you had to get out of the way, do you have enough room? So that's another tip, be a defensive driver.
Sorry, let's talk about changing lanes, all right? So if you're going to change a lane, you got to remember that you do have blind spots, right? So we have a blind spot right underneath the the passenger side mirror and in front, right? There's a lot up there that I can't see. So having a person with you driving and being able to let you know about that is really helpful. Also, the multiple cameras that we have really give us a good, I could drive this alone because we have a lot of cameras showing us those blind spots, so that really helps. All right, so changing lanes, I hope you can hear me. The first thing obviously I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put on my signal. There's somebody coming right now, so I'm gonna let him pass. I'm gonna slow down a little bit, put my signal on. Once he passes, again, I'm checking those mirrors, and then I'm gonna slowly merge into the left lane and turn the signal off. Okay, I'm not gonna hang out here again. I don't like driving in the left lane. I don't recommend it. All right, now I'm gonna make a lane change into the right lane. Blinker on. This is really useful along with the mirrors. And there we go. All right, let's talk a little braking. So for braking, much different than a car. All right, if you're in a gasser and you don't have air brakes, you gotta push harder. All right, you gotta get those right quads
Better
going.
do your squats.
Yes, because especially on hills, I remember when I first started doing it, I couldn't believe how hard I had to push. It actually made my legs sore. Now I'm used to it, but you don't think of that. It's much different than when you're in a car.
Guys, also going down the hills, if you're, again, you don't have air brakes, you're going to want to use the tow haul mode on these F53 chassis. And what that'll do, it'll allow the engine to downshift and slow your motorhome down, so you're not heating up your brakes and potentially having those brakes fail. And finally, you're also, just remember guys, it's going to take longer to stop in a 26,000 pound vehicle versus like a little, 3,000 pound hot rod with huge brakes.
Which is why we said you have to leave a really good distance in between yourself and other vehicles. So if you do have to stop short, you have plenty of time to do so. All right, with turning, you have to really take this into consideration, which a lot of people forget. If you're in a tight space, say you're in a gas station or another type of smaller parking lot, is overhang. This is really how a lot of people damage their motorhomes. So knowing how to avoid that is critical.
Okay, so here's an example of overhang, guy, or how to deal with the overhang. As you can see here, we had set up 2 cones. These can represent a wall or whatever, and you have the rear wheel here, and then everything behind this is going to be overhang, right? So MJ is going to negotiate a left turn now. If she cuts too early without that back clearing, the back is going to hit potentially what could be a brick wall or whatever, and that we don't want. So she's going to demonstrate how to do this appropriately. All right, babe, go ahead and start. So she's going to be driving. She's going to look in her mirror until that bumper clears, and now she's going to start to cut. Now, obviously, she's doing it way more than she would need to, but this is simply for demonstration purposes only.
And to wrap it up, guys, we have 5 general recommendations for you when it comes to driving the motorhome. So number 1 is you could take lessons. We did that.
You did that,
It was it was kind of a joke. The lesson was get in the driver's seat and go, and take your turns wide. But a lot of places do give really, really good training in this, so we recommend that.
Next big recommendation, guys, just go slow. There's no rush, okay? You don't have to be doing 80 miles an hour. You might get there, a couple of hours later, but get there safe.
Yep. Don't worry about what other people think when driving. If they have to wait, it's too bad. And this is something that I learned in the beginning. I would say to Izzy, he said, oh my God, I'm holding somebody up because I can't make the turn yet. It's okay.
What would I say?
Don't care.
Yeah, you're bigger, so they got to wait for you.
Yeah, right. So make sure that you remember that.
You want to plan your stops out carefully. Gas stations, stores, campgrounds, etc. We spoke about this before. When you are booking a campground, you really got to make sure that they can accommodate you, not only the site, but getting to that site, right? So that's definitely really important.
And you can also get a book that's out there on the market. It's an older book. It's on Amazon, and it's titled Drive Your Motorhome Like a Pro. And the author is Lauren Walsh. And you can get that, like I said, on Amazon. We'll put the link below.
Yep.
And the most important, the bonus piece of advice that we can give you is to relax and what?
Have fun.
Right. How often do we fight all the time and who gets to drive it?
Yeah, basically, because it's fun to drive this thing, right?
It is, and you want to enjoy it. And so practice and get to the point with that you are comfortable and can enjoy it, because that is really the goal of this.
So let us know in the comments below what you guys do, either driving your motorhome or trailer or fifth wheel, whatever you have. And also, if you're new to the channel, we invite you to subscribe. Finally, we are going to link over here some of our DIY videos as well as our RV walkthroughs, so feel free to check them out. So for myself and MJ, we'll see you on the road.